Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another great episode of the podcast. Today, we're joined by submission grappler, Sarah Wilson. Sarah is currently training for the FLA Submission Kumite. She's current champion, and we're excited to have her on the show today. Before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you like all the new guests, episodes, different coaches that we have on the show, make sure you like and subscribe. Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by SpiritLeaf Waterdown, located at 64 Hamilton Street North in Waterdown, Ontario. If you're looking for Canada's top cannabis brand, look no further than Alex and his crew at SpiritLeaf Waterdown. They're going to be able to help you out with all your THC and CBD needs and products. All you got to do is like them on Instagram and us on Instagram, show them at the cash, and you're going to save money every single time you shop there. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the show, and we'll see you soon on the mat. Well, here we are. We're back again for another episode of the podcast, and we're joined today by Sarah Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
No, this is awesome. So you have an FLA Submission Kumite number 4. You are the current champion for the bracket. So how have things been going with the fight? The fight is coming up on January 22nd, barring no issues, right?
Yeah, the last I heard, I think January 12th is the day that the next stage of restrictions get released. So, but the promoter's already been kind of making some backup plans for that. Derek's pretty persistent in the face of all this stuff. So I feel like if there's any chance of it going on, he'll find a way.
No, Derek's pretty resourceful, so I'm sure he'll figure it out.
Exactly. But yeah, the training's been going good. I'm just actually getting back. I had actually one of my worst jiu-jitsu injuries I think I've ever had from somebody who got hurt a lot. I dislocated the joint where the sternum and the collarbone meet and fractured my collarbone.
Oh, okay.
During wrestling, just by landing on my shoulder. But oh man, I'm not somebody to complain about pain, but holy shit, I was bedridden for a few days. It kind of messed me up. So I'm just actually now probably about 5 weeks later getting back to hard rolling again.
Oh, that's good. So was it just a freak injury or something you've had before?
Yeah, I was on my feet and somebody was just grabbing my wrist and I just didn't really respect the wrist grip. So when they foot tripped me, they were still holding my wrist. So my entire body just landed on my shoulder and just kind of crunched it all the way through.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, it hurt.
So when you go in for the FLA championships, because I know they have the bracket system. So is yours just a super fight or are you guys going into a bracket system as well?
We do brackets as well. So the last one was 4 women and we all fought on the card. And then, so for this one, it's the 32 men who are going to be competing. And I think they're going to go on to the PPV with 16 men. And then we're starting with 8 women and going on to the PPV with 4 women. So
nice.
Just one round pretty much in the daytime. So it'll be a 3-round to gold kind of bracket.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Is that what you prefer? Do you prefer tournament style, get to the finals, or more super fights? What's kind of the thing that you prefer?
Well, I only just started getting super fights in the last year or so. And when they first came, the glitz and glamour of it was kind of cool. You felt, even though it doesn't mean anything in the big scale things, it's just kind of a personal marker being okay, I'm starting to get some traction here. And then, but yeah, it's just over so soon. And my partner would be competing on same cards and he'd have multiple events and stuff like that. And it just feels it's you do so much training for one round and then it's just over. So it's now I'm starting to prefer having multiple matches in a day just to really test myself and kind of suffer a bit worse.
Does your preparation change when it comes to a tournament style bracket where you may have 4 or 5 matches versus if you're doing a super fight with somebody and are you just studying them? Does your preparation change? Take us through a little bit of that. Cause I know the FLA, they have some different unique brackets and things like that.
Yeah. If it's a single person, I find that you can, at this stage, it's not always possible to study somebody's game, but there is sometimes online footage. So you actually have the luxury of seeing if you can tailor any new aspects into your game. I think regardless, you're still going to be going in there with your game plan, but you do get to you have the luxury of only focusing on certain things, where with a multi-tournament, round day, your cardio, I think, is the main focus because you want to make sure that at 100% of the time you can just be pushing it. There's nothing worse than competing and it's your cardio is that didn't carry you through, that's it's one thing if your technique's not there, your skill, but there's nothing worse than feeling your gas tank kind of like go low and you're fighting with the other person. So I try to make sure that I'm like that I can be dragging anybody into deep water the whole day and just try to have that on my side. And yeah, with multiple people too, I find that my game plan changes to just what am I going to do? Like I plan out my, from wrestling, I start to plan out like my hand fighting to the takedown, to how I'm going to pass, to how I'm going to mount, to how I'm going to submit, and kind of have that in my head. So as soon as I go into the round, I'm just ready at any point to kind of like match back onto my game plan.
Nice. So how did you kind of get involved in like, obviously this tournament style with FLA? How did you get involved with Derek?
So like, I really like competing, and then with COVID, it's obviously been difficult. So as soon as I came out here, I was just kind of like, fine. I don't have Facebook, but I have Instagram. So I was just kind of like stalking through the scene, trying to see what was going on over here. And so then I found FLA, and I just started like following, liking, and commenting on every single thing that they ever posted, until one day he messaged me and he's like, hey, do you compete? Would you like to compete? And I was like, yes, I would. And so cool. So yeah, my first match with them was a super fight with Charlene Barkhouse. And then we went to the bracket one to start to do like the women's championship side. So now this is the second return of like the women's bracket.
So like female
sorry, I was going to say, I'm going to hopefully be on the MMA card in April.
Okay.
And that'll be my first MMA fight.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
It'll be, this is like this is the fourth fight now that was supposed to like be my first MMA fight since COVID happened. It started like in the first June of 2000, where everything's all getting like momentum. Then it's like no COVID happened. And so I have faith in this one. I have a good feeling about this one though. I think it's going to happen.
The fourth time is the charm, hopefully.
My fourth first.
What kind of made you decide that have you always wanted to do MMA, or is that kind of something that's been on the back burner?
I've always wanted to do MMA for like a long time. And then I've always trained at jiu-jitsu gyms, and like haven't really done a lot of like, all the stand-up I've done has been like largely just like on my own time, or like with certain coaches or certain friends. But so I feel like maybe I've been progressing a little slower on the stand-up side. And then yeah, when I finally started to like go for it, and it was like BFL that I was supposed to like have my first fight out in BC with. And then yeah, like COVID happened, and then just from there it's been like trying, and it's like I'm in my 30s now too, so I was like, oh, I should have started this a little earlier. Like, you know, now that if I had to wait 2 years over COVID, it wouldn't have been such a big deal. But
it's okay. Aaron started his MMA career in his 30s as well. He's undefeated at currently 1-0 with his amateur record. Yeah. Aaron hates when I bring this up, by the way.
I was 32. I was 32 when I did that match. And then I was like, I did it once. And I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah, that's kind of what, like, it's for me, it's always been like I really enjoy jiu-jitsu, and I think you can get like a lot more longevity in the sport than compared to some other combat sports, just with the way, like, how you have the option to tap out at any time instead of getting knocked out and stuff. But I feel like when you like combat sports and this kind of stuff, it's just nice to try it at least once. And I think I was probably around like 29 when I was like, you know what, like I've been just saying it for a while, I'm just going to go for it. And then and then it's just been like, now I'm here.
Yeah, no, I think it's also was kind of getting into my next question, where it was female grappling has really kind of been on the rise lately, especially with like ADCC. It's more on like who's number one, and a lot of like fight to win. They've been pushing a lot of different female matches now, and we're seeing a lot more women come out. Did you guys see the Medusa one that came out? The Medusa one that was on UFC to Fight Pass? Like I didn't see that one. No, it was like all women combat jiu-jitsu. It was like another Eddie Bravo thing. I just finished watching it before I like signed on with you guys, but yeah, it was sweet. I think that's one of the first, like one of the coolest all women cards I've seen, at least. And I've never seen combat jiu-jitsu before. I always thought it was like slaps, but like no, they're just like heels.
No, they're like striking people.
Yeah, it was kind of cool to watch. I was like, this is violent, man. Fuck yeah. This is cool.
I've actually seen like some TKOs in it. It's pretty wild. Like you can actually just mount somebody and just start bang and just.
And like, yeah, some of them are, they're just down, and I'm just, oh yeah, for sure. And apparently they're saying some people have won by TKO before, but yeah, it's cool starting to see, like, instead of it just being like the odd women card, and it's cool, like even hearing how people are commentating about women over the years. Like, there seems to be more like respect on people's names when they're just even talking about them and stuff. And yeah, it's starting to feel like that like people are taking women's grappling not more seriously necessarily, but there's just better and better grapplers coming up. And I think the jiu-jitsu is getting better, especially no-gi jiu-jitsu is just it's just evolving so fast, and the matches are getting more exciting and people are just so aggressive. And I'm excited because I'm like, I just got my brown belt. So now it's starting to be like, oh, holy shit, could I be like allowed to be competing on those like levels soon too, you know? So yeah, I'm pretty excited.
What are some events that you've been following? We talked about ADCC and the Medusa event, but like, are there any other events that you've been following, or are there any like females on that are coming up that you've been watching as well?
Yeah, like I mean, I could start forever on all the females I follow and admire and watch and stuff like that. But the one girl who actually won the Medusa is that I see her mentioned a lot in the East Coast of Brianna St. Marie from Montreal. So if you, I think she used to compete on this circuit out here. So I was kind of like already hearing about her just because people would mention it when she won stuff. So then I watched that Medusa one, which she won. So yeah, she actually lives in Montreal. And when I drove over for Christmas, I wanted to train with them. But the day before I left, the gyms all shut down in Montreal. So just like, all right. But yeah, she's been on a little tear lately. And then she actually won the first ADCC qualifiers. So I'm hoping to go out and compete at the second qualifiers. So it'd be cool to, get to roll some of those people.
Yeah, when's the next ADC trial? That's coming up
They
soon.
just announced it. It's going to be April 2nd and 3rd. Okay. It was originally supposed to be and like I think that because usually the men qualify at the first and the women qualify at the second, but it kind of seems like they're letting the men qualify again at this one. That's how the wording's been kind of like ambiguous, and I've been kind of wondering if there's going to be 2 qualifying events for the men this year.
There's usually like an East Coast trials and a West Coast trials when it comes to like North America, but I'm not sure if they're adding more, because I know ADCC, I think they were talking about like even adding like and expanding like the women's divisions, because like there's only like 2 female divisions and they're like eight females each. That's pretty small. So I think the talent pool that's out there now.
Yeah, well, and like even the weight classes, like it's because it's under 132 pounds or over, and like 132 pounds isn't that big, but like, and then if you're over 132, you're fighting like Gabby Garcia, and it's just like, how is that? Like, you know what I mean? There's got to be an in between there, like.
And that's the thing, like that 132 division, and then all of a sudden over, and then you got Gabby who's like 200 plus. Which is insane. Like she's bigger than Andre Galval. Like it's crazy.
Oh, I know,
bigger than Aaron Gall, man. Like,
I know.
And like, oh man, well, it's been crazy. Like, because I know she just retired at Worlds, but the last couple times, because I think at the World she got tapped out. Then she was on that. I forget what that card was. Who's number one?
It was Who's Number One. Yeah.
So Who's Number One? Yes.
Amanda Leve girl like choked her out, and it was just like, I love seeing that kind of stuff though. Like all those little, like whenever I watch those stories, I'm like, yeah, you can do it. Who cares if you're 33? You keep going, Sarah. Like,
yeah. Do you think she's just like getting a little too cocky for her own good in these matches, or is she like just getting beat?
Yeah. Well, I think like even like that, like Bia. I can't remember her last name right now. Letitia's student, like who was
Bia Mosquito, yeah.
So even like I've been noticing she's not been, her lose to win ratio has been kind of like reversing lately, and I think it's a lot of the old school jiu-jitsu versus the new school. Like I feel like if they're like, I think some people might like learn their game and like just like stick with it, but I feel like jiu-jitsu is changing so fast, and it's, if you're not like constantly in the gym every day still trying to evolve your game and keeping up with it, I feel like it's like, seems like the younger generation's kind of outpacing some of the older players. And I don't even mean age, I just mean like the older school like styles.
I think it's coming with more updated stuff probably.
Yeah, like they're just like on the 4.0 version, you know, like.
Well, I think that's like anything. The sport eventually always evolves. Like somebody comes up with something new that the older divisions haven't seen before, and they just redefine it even better moving forward. But I think like what you're saying is true, because especially when you look at like schools like AOJ and like even like Atos, they're like constantly evolving, where I would see like Gabby's game's kind of always been the same. It's not really
totally like, well, and I feel like it's like different for the gi and the no gi too, because I do feel like gi is kind of like stayed more the same. It's more no gi that's kind of like branching off into its own sport, because I think Bia still just won no gi gi worlds and stuff, but like I think that like no gi just seems to be, even since I started training like 6 or however many years ago, no gi seems to just be kind of like different. I don't know. It just like, it's like sleeker and newer and trickier. I don't know. Like, I like it though. I train pretty much like mostly only no-gi now.
Is that kind of like getting ready for like potential MMA coming in hopefully in the summer for you, or is it just something you've always just preferred?
Well, that's what I say to justify it, but like I just like I just honestly, it's like the more times I put on this like thick heavy robe, I'm just like, I don't enjoy it. Like I don't enjoy wearing it. I don't enjoy the belt. I don't enjoy people pinning me to the ground with it. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I just don't like it. Like,
we're complete opposites. I enjoy the gi. I do as much bullshit as I can in it as humanly possible.
Totally.
It's real fighting. It's real fighting.
I bet you if I was better in the gi, I'd like it more.
No, it's true, because I was training today with a couple guys, and I just kept lapelling them, and I was just having fun with it, and they're like, what the fuck is this shit? I'm like, hey man, totally. either learn it or don't. Like, it's up to you. Like,
no, totally. And I do swing back and forth. I went through periods before where I've like went back and forth, but my favorite part of all of jiu-jitsu is wrestling, like stand-up wrestling. That's what I love the most out of, I think all of MMA is my favorite part, and so that's kind of a no-gi specific area. And then yeah, I like no-gi's a little fast paced too. And I feel like you get a little more like grace with no-gi. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can get pinned or trapped for 6 minutes and not be able to do anything in the gi, but I feel like it'd be pretty hard to do that in no-gi. Like, so, and like, that's just a cop out. It's not saying that like no-gi's better. I'm just saying like, I can escape easier with nobody pinning me down.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely things like gi and no-gi that it's always good to train both, I think. And there's always certain things, like I would say, for example, like escaping with a gi on, I would say is much more difficult to do, getting out of bad positions versus no gi versus like there's certain positions, like, you know, there's certain things you can get away with no gi that you can't get away with a gi on, and vice versa.
100%, 100%.
So if you were
now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, man, I got to start training the gi again.
So if you were going to wear your gi again, would you put a hoodie on like our boy Ken Peters again at all, or no?
I thought about it. Well, not with the gi, because I find the gi already pretty hot. But like sometimes because part of the reason he still wears it, that he says, is because it's cold in the basement. So I do find that sometimes when I'm wearing like my no-gi stuff, because I'd say at least probably like 4 or 5 guys wear like hoodies with no-gi stuff now. Every like new week, there's a new comfort over. So I've been thinking about joining the ring. So I'm like, okay, it looks cozy.
The new hoodie rash guard will be coming to survival gear coming very soon.
Wow.
That's a shameless plug.
You heard the idea here first.
Yeah, make sure Kent gives you your cut though.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you kind of like look at whether it's ADC or like obviously who number one, like who do you kind of like think is like, we talked about Gabby, but like who do you kind of think is like on that up and comer, like they're going to be kind of like taking that top spot?
I don't know. I think Fiona has been really like, and I mean, there's different weight classes, so it's always like, you know, because like I know Kendall Rusing, she's a bit on a higher weight class, and she's been really tearing it up lately. I like Erin Harp. I think Erin Harp's been doing really good. Fiona Davies, I think I really like her too. She's like so small, but she just looks like she's like a friggin' bulldozer passing guards and stuff. And then I know I can't remember her name, but the Atos girl who I think won like no-gi worlds and stuff this year, she seems to be doing really good too. But it's cool how there's actual multiple girls. And I think, as far as I know, I think Fiona's been winning a lot, but I like how at a lot of the other events, it's like nobody's been winning consistently every time. There seems to be like a group of like 5 or 6 girls in a couple of the class, and they're all winning intermittently. Like, and I think it shows that the talent pool is really deep right now.
Yeah, I think there's like a lot of parity. It's not just like one female. It wasn't like, for example, like Gabby Garcia who just won whatever she signed up for.
Yeah.
Versus now you have like 5 or 6 females that have been very good, and they can and it could be those 5 or 6 that can win on pretty much any day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been cool. Like I have like all the different passes, like UFC Fight Pass and Flow Grappling and stuff like that. And it seems like there's events like almost every other week and stuff. So it's cool. And even like girls I follow, like I don't remember them like back in the day, be like every now and then they're having a super fight. And there's people now like I forget her name now too, but yeah, she's on like her 4th or 5th like big event in the last few months, and it's just like, oh man, it looks like people are starting to make some money. Like it's like I feel like it's like Gordon Ryan said, he's like, trust me, in a year I'm going to start getting athletes paid, and it seemed like it only took like a little while till all the I'm not saying the popularity is directly from him, but it seems like it happened kind of fast. Like it was going like this, and all of a sudden it was like, woo, how much like popularity events are getting and stuff like that is really exciting to be competing while it's happening and just be like, oh, there's actual like opportunities happening right now. Especially as I feel like as a woman, there's even like the competition pool is even less deep right now. So I have like that advantage over men. Like when me and my boyfriend go to competitions, I'll have like 4 people in my division and he has like 16, and it's like, good luck, babe.
Get your 4 fights in there. I gotta do 2.
So I'm joking about with my wife when she's like, oh, like I could just sign up for pans and get like a default medal. It's great.
It's pretty much like I know. And then like when I like, yeah, you can get bronze in a women's division with losing every match, but like you can also get bronze in a men's division and have done like an amazing performance, you know. So there's a bit of a disparity there.
Yeah, I think like as you were saying, like how things were just getting bigger. I think it's like a curse, and it's also a great thing where like Flow has like really pushed the envelope as far as like getting like eyeballs on everything, and just obviously finding athletes and utilizing them. But obviously the curse of it is that they control all the content, right? So that if you're not on Flow, then that's the only where you're going to see everybody, right? So it's kind of like
totally like, oh yeah, I have my own like, yeah, I feel like I like mentally fought Flow Grappling for a while. Then it was only like probably about 4 or 5 months ago I gave in and got a like subscription. I was just like, whatever, fine, yeah, have my eyes, like
take my money, Flow.
I haven't heard firsthand, but it's like I don't feel like a lot of the money they make like trickles down to the fighters and stuff like that. So it's like kind of like a third like party like taking it. It's not like, but it's like, you know, they all get eyes on it. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, they're a sneaky little company, I find. Like the reason why I have a year-long subscription right now is because I was trying to get a month-long subscription, and there's no easy way to do it. So I got tricked into doing the year.
You just do the year.
Yeah, I got so frustrated. And I was just like, fine, I'll do a year, whatever. I forget what event I wanted to watch, and so yeah. But now there is a lot of events that happen, so it's been actually pretty cool.
I mean, the only reason we have it is just because obviously it makes sense for us on the podcast, so we know what's actually going on. But then I was like, okay, how do I make this a business expense? And that was the only reason.
Aaron, we need to write off the tens and tens of dollars that we make from this podcast.
That's what I'm saying, right? So I was just like, okay, that's the only reason we're getting Flow. Like, and that is it. And I'm like, but the funny thing is, like, we have this, so Mike and I share the subscription, but whenever I want to watch an event, Mike's always on it and he's always kicking me off. So I'm like, what the fuck?
Like, Mike, get the fuck off here.
Once you have the subscription, though, I feel like there is a fair amount of events. Like between the fight to win ones and then all like the occasional, like, you know, prize ones, and like even that who's number one, like, yeah, the prizes they were giving out on that, I don't know, but it is cool just kind of like being on there. And I feel like I'm more like involved in the sport than I was before, because they're just like, I know all the people who have been winning stuff because I'm literally watching all the events and stuff. And I think that watching a sport is kind of like the most like least invasive passive way of like practicing or getting involved or like desensitizing towards competition and stuff. So I think there's just a lot to be learned about it, like in a lot of different ways too. So I just I feel like it's like I'm either going to be watching Netflix or like that. So I'm like, that's how I justify paying it to myself. I'm like, you know what? You're either just like going to watch like 8 episodes of The Office, or you can actually like watch something that's going to be like informative and help you.
Well, it's like studying too, right? So you have to look at it that way.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah, it's been good though.
Yeah. Pivoting a little bit, like, or since we're talking about like watching a lot of jiu-jitsu, like, who's like somebody that you want to have like a match with, or some like opponents that you haven't had the opportunity to face yet? They're kind of like fantasy booking. Like who would you want to step on the mats with?
Oh, that's such a good question. I would love to fight with Fionn because I feel like we have really similar styles. I feel like there's a girl that I had a super fight with in the gi. Her name's like Giovanna Canuto. She just won a super fight against like Jessica Flowers, who's like a black belt world champ in no gi. I would like to go against her. We had a draw when we had our super fight, but I feel like if I was doing it in Nogi, I feel like I could maybe get the win on that one. I would love to fight with that Brianna girl who lives close. We're in the same weight class too, so that'd be cool. And then just like any of the girl like legends would be sweet to wrestle with, like just because you have watched them for so many years and stuff like that. Kendall reusing, her wrestling's pretty sweet. She does this amazing, like whenever somebody's attacking her hip, she just like does that like hip switch so easily. I've been trying to do it myself, but I think she'd be cool to wrestle with too. Yes, and like I feel like when you like, I like all of jiu-jitsu, I like that like grindy, painful, suffering aspect of it. So it's like I would just love to like find people who can like beat me up the most and like see what it feels like, you know, just like, and I feel like it's especially like impressive when it's like people who are of like a really small body size making you feel that way. So I would like to, yeah, like have just get on that like level and start competing with more people of that skill level.
No, for sure. Like, I think like, even like you said, like you have a great mindset where it's, again, you want to find people who are better than you and keep training hard and put yourself in bad positions so you can just keep elevating your game. So I think that's really good.
And it's just like, yeah, like I remember like way back, because I've traveled a lot to train in like all kinds of different like countries and stuff. But I remember I was at one of the Gracie studio in California. But anyways, like Per Oziander was teaching. It was a sweet class. We got to wrestle, and then I remember there was this, and at that time I think I was like just some kind of like cocky 4-stripe white belt. I don't remember, maybe a blue belt, but I remember seeing a really, really tiny brown belt girl and just like doing the Conor McGregor like swagger up to her, like, yeah, you want to roll? And then she just like probably tapped me like 80 times in like 30 seconds. Like it was, and she was so little. And it's one of those feelings where you're like, whoa, like I could like she's a girl, I'm a girl, like I could do that one day, you know? Like, so I feel like there's like that feeling when you get your ass kicked like that badly, there's that feeling of like, whoa, like if I trained harder, I could be that good, you know? So I kind of like exposing myself to people like that, even if it's like at my own, you know, cost or whatever. But that's like one of my favorite things about cross training and traveling around and stuff.
How often? Go ahead, Aaron.
No, go ahead.
How often are you able to travel? Because you mentioned over, you know, the last couple of weeks, like you took a trip. Like, did you drive across Canada and tried to hit up a couple of different gyms, or what?
Yeah, but so this was like a Christmas specific trip because so I lived in BC the last like 10-12 years, and that's where my partner is born and raised, but I'm originally from Ontario. So we had kind of like, this is not what a usual trip for us would look like, and we have 2 dogs. So we drove to Ontario because my sister was going to be moving back to Nova Scotia. So we took our truck so we could take her trailer back. Then we flew to BC, had Christmas there, flew back to Ontario, and then drove back to Nova Scotia. And then while I was in so in BC is like where my home gym is, where I've been training since like white belt. So I just like stopped and train with them. But yeah, like all the gyms I usually train at in Ontario were closed. So I had to take a few days off, unfortunately.
Not because of COVID, but because of Christmas.
Yeah.
If it's not COVID, it's Christmas. Something's closing us here.
But the one gym that I usually train at did say that like I usually drop in, and they just said that like because of COVID, they're not letting any drop-ins right now. So
yeah.
And then I didn't ask. I stopped asking after that.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. No, like I know a lot of clubs like closed between like kind of like things started going a little wary, like December 23rd, December 22nd. Like I think I got all fucked up. And I think a lot of people were closing down because they're like, you know what, I just don't want to get sick before we go see our families and all that kind of stuff, which was totally
enough though. Like, yeah, like if it was my gym, like I would rather my coach stay safe so that we can train rather than risk it to let some fucker that I don't even know come train for a day. You know what I mean? Like,
even if it's me and I'm trying to visit, don't let this fucker.
It's like, no, I totally didn't. I totally respected their decision. Like, I didn't think it was worth risking it for some person I didn't know either. Like, yeah, trying to keep the gym open during COVID is, I know that like the only thing that mattered.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of people, especially like, I don't want to get too deep into this, but I think especially if things do shut down again, I think a lot of people are just going to be like, well, you know what, we're just going to do closed door meetings again and just keep training.
You can definitely feel the shift in perception on this one a bit, and not like even, same thing, not to get too serious, but it's just kind of like everyone's just like, okay, you know, we'll we'll try our best to do what you say. Like, and that's just kind of what it feels like everybody's feeling this time.
We're gonna close, right?
Yeah.
We're not encouraging anybody to not follow public health. We're just saying we're just gonna have meetings. That's it.
Here's an unrelated secret knock you should learn.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, Ken told us about a secret knock and all that kind of stuff. No, we had him on the podcast. I think it was like just before like December 1st or something like that. We had a great conversation with him. Like, he's a fun guy.
Yeah, he's
a fun guy. And that's actually when the world started falling apart again due to this latest variant. So I like to just mention on record it's probably his fault.
You know what? I'm starting to see the connection.
It's possible. It is possible. Yeah. So kind of like when you kind of look at like your training career, like where do you kind of see it going? Do you see it going more like MMA, see how it pans out? You want to stick with more jiu-jitsu, whether it's opening up a school down the road, kind of like where do you kind of see yourselves going?
As much as I would like, I'm gonna just kind of ride the MMA train and see where it takes me. I don't like foresee me going extremely far with it. I just feel like if I had more stand-up like knowledge and knew I could protect myself very, very well from head damage, I might like do a little more with it. But like, I'm definitely way stronger on the ground and stuff like that. And I feel like there's starting to be so much potential in jiu-jitsu, and I feel like especially in women's jiu-jitsu it's starting to like actually blow up and get paid for the first time. And I'm like one belt away from black belt, and I'm like competing often and doing well, so I'm like, oh, there's like on paper logically it seems like I could like at least try my best and do it. Whereas with MMA I'm like, I feel like it's the amount of skills I'd have to dedicate like and take away from jiu-jitsu to start like being a very good MMA competitor. I'm not sure if like I'm ready to sacrifice that many like years to it at 33. When I like that's fair. When I could really chase jiu-jitsu, and I really, that's like where my heart is anyway.
So like jiu-jitsu, like getting into more competitions, that's kind of like your focus on 2022. Have you ever thought about like opening a school? Like what's kind of like your future plans?
Just competing. Yeah. I like, my boyfriend's kind of said stuff like that in the past. Like if I ever had any kind of gym, I'd want to do like a Cowboy Cerrone kind of gym where you just have like a giant gym with all the sickest shit. And it's like not like a gym really where you come for all your classes. You just come there to like fight whoever's there, and just like kind of like a 24/7 open. It just seems like a 24/7 open mat. Like it seems so sweet. I'm like, I'll do something like that, but I don't like the idea of like committing to a school. I feel like you owe your students like at least something if you're going to commit. So if I want to go travel for a year, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to be one of those gyms that's like, you know, leaving the blue belt to teach while I'm gone for a few months because I have my own priorities. Like if I have a gym, I want to have like I want to kind of like be like the gym that I grew up in. Like I don't know, I want all of my students to like feel supported, like be, if they want to compete, like just, I want to be able to put everything into it. And right now I just really have more of a heart and a desire for competing and traveling. So I'm just want to, like do that for as long as I can.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like if that's where the heart is, when like, again, being an instructor, obviously it's a lot of sacrifice because you're putting time into students, right? As a competitor, and I don't say it rudely, I mean, you have to be selfish for yourself, right? Like you have to be selfish for yourself in order to train properly, make sure you're getting the being able to do what you need to do to be successful, plain and simple.
Yeah, because all you're like when you're competing, especially when you're like competing often against tougher opponents, you have to really tailor your game. And when you're teaching, you have to really like generalize your game to make it accessible to everybody. So I feel like those two, but like on that same thread though, I do feel like teaching is important and part of the whole growth thing. But yeah, like I'm just not ready to dedicate that much time to it yet.
No,
I still feel like I'm definitely in my learning stages of jiu-jitsu. I just got my brown belt and I was just like, all right, like I guess I got to really quickly study and catch up to what all the other brown belts know and do.
Bottom of the totem pole again, I think.
Yeah, I know it's a little intimidating, but it's exciting. Like it's like it feels good to be challenged, and I'm excited. Like even if you suck or you lose and all that stuff, like that's what grinds and inspires your training harder, which is like also a sweet feeling. So yeah, I'm just excited. I feel like now that at brown belt too, I'm like, I don't feel like I'm going to have like shitty matches anymore. You know, I feel like everybody I compete from now on is going to be like hard grindy matches, which will be like sweet. I'm looking forward to it.
Nice. I like that. I have one more question. like when you talk about, like, again, you said it before, where it's like you like putting yourself in those pressure cooker situations, right? And then obviously as females are coming up into this group, as far as like you guys as athletes, there's a lot of girls that, like, you know, they're not interested in that. Like, what kind of advice do you have for like anybody who's like, again, kind of like you were that white belt before, but and get into those situations where you get tapped like 80 times, and like, how do you kind of like keep them going?
Yeah, I think cross training is important because sometimes, unfortunately, it's literally the only way you can train with another girl. Like, I have one girl that trains at my gym, but she's not out there all the time. So there's 2 other brown belts in Nova Scotia. Like, there's more than 2 brown belts in Nova Scotia, but 2 of the brown belt girls in Nova Scotia, like, we made a plan before Christmas, and we all met up at a middle gym, and we all drove like from all different ends of Nova Scotia to meet. And I'm like, yeah, obviously that's not always feasible, but cross training for different partners. I think watching women's matches is important. I think it seems harder in your head, but when you see it happen, it's like, oh, I could do that. Like, it kind of normalizes it a bit. And I think mat time is always just the biggest thing. Like, it's just always the hours you put in. And even when it feels like you're not progressing, or sometimes when it feels like you're getting worse, the more time you spend on the mat, you just still have to keep putting in the hours, and eventually it does pay off.
Nice.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, listen, Sarah, it's been an awesome pleasure speaking with you today. We do look forward to your fight coming up this couple of weeks, actually. So we are rooting for you. We hope everything goes well, and hopefully the event still stays on. But I'm only positive vibes right now. So
come on, Aaron, why you got to
positive vibes? Positive vibes.
If not, it's going to be in Ken Peters' basement.
Yeah, perfect.
No,
in my hoodie.
Sure. Yeah. Is there anybody you want to shout out, or like sponsorships you want to talk about before we take off?
My only sponsor is Arcadia Sheet Metal. That they do standing seam sheet metals in Cape Breton.
Awesome. Well, shout out to them.
Yeah,
awesome.
It was really nice to meet you guys. Thank you for having me on.
No, thank you so much. All right. Thanks, everybody.